Welcome to the deep dive, where we dig into dense research to find those really useful insights. Today, we're tackling something pretty universal. Finding your way in the job market, maybe even figuring out that ideal career path. We've gone deep into a guide on job search coaching, and honestly, some of what we found, it really made me rethink how I approach this whole thing. Even if you've been around the block professionally, the job market today, it feels like a moving target, doesn't it? We all hear the usual advice, but what if the best strategies are actually kind of hidden? Or maybe even the opposite of what you'd expect?
That's exactly what we're diving into. We want to help shift the job search from, something that feels overwhelming and reactive into more of a journey, like self-discovery, but also really strategic action. It's not just grabbing any job. It's about finding the right fit for you.
Mhm.
And that means really nailing down what matters, your values, your skills,
Yeah.
and then figuring out how to, well, position yourself effectively to get it.
I really like that framing. That shift in mindset feels, yeah, crucial. So, okay, to help listeners make that shift, where do our sources say we should even begin? We'll start by looking inward, right? Then get into some maybe surprising strategic insights about how jobs are actually found. And then touch on practical ways to fine tune your approach and maybe use resources you hadn't thought of. Okay, let's unpack this first part then. Before even looking out there, our sources say step one, look inward. It's this idea called career discovery reflection. Sounds a bit deep, maybe, but it starts simply like think back. When you were younger, what did you dream of being? What drew you to those ideas? And looking back now, what parts still appeal, or maybe surprisingly, really don't appeal anymore? What's interesting here is it goes beyond just, listing skills. Our sources suggest real satisfaction comes from who you work with and the kind of qualities you get to use day to day. So that's where thinking about preferred people and qualities comes in. Who do you genuinely click with at work? What are their qualities? Collaborative,
Yeah.
analytical, driven, whatever it is. And maybe importantly, where might you find more people like that? And what qualities do you actually enjoy using most?
Right? And it keeps going deeper, thinking about the actual types of work, like what tasks do you want more of, what do you dread, what do you want less of? Is it more strategy, less admin, or the other way around? Also, thinking about what employers value now. How's that changing? And maybe what skills could you learn now to be ready for the future? What happens if you don't? One exercise that really stood out to me was picturing a great day at work. It sounds kind of fluffy, but it's actually presented as a diagnostic tool. Like imagine it vividly. What time do you start? Who are you talking to? What problems are you actually solving? What does that perfect day tell you about what's really important, what's maybe not so important, and what's absolutely critical for you in a job? Could you boil it down to three words like focused, creative, impactful, or maybe steady, collaborative, calm? Getting specific like this helps pin down what genuinely need and want. And finally, this feels really key. What are your absolute career deal breakers? What won't you compromise on?
Commute, culture, salary floor, specific tasks you refuse to do. What must you have in that next role for it to feel like a real step forward?
Exactly. And what's so powerful is that this whole reflection process, it isn't just navel-gazing. It's designed to be strategic. It feeds directly into a practical framework the sources introduce called the 10 Ps of job selection. Basically, a tool to stop you making impulsive choices and to, well, objectively check if a job really suits you, right? The 10 Ps. Let's listen quickly. Place, people, products, process, powers, projects, progress, promotion, prosperity, and purpose. And the guide makes a really crucial point alongside this. Not all Ps are equal.
Right.
You're encouraged to actually score them, or at least weight them, based on what came out of your reflection. So maybe purpose is a 10 out of 10 for you, but place is less critical. Or perhaps prosperity is non-negotiable right now. This structured way of thinking acts like a filter. It helps you weed out jobs that look shiny, but don't actually meet your deeper needs.
Okay, that makes sense. It connects the inner work to the outer search. So once you've got that clarity, you know your P's, you know yourself better. How do you actually present this refined you to potential employers?
All right, that's the next step. And it starts with the self-SWOT analysis, along with really identifying strengths.
Yeah.
The value here is massive. It's about understanding yourself inside out before anyone else forms an opinion. It lets you control the narrative, so to speak. So you look at strengths. What are you genuinely good at? What are your key selling points? What makes you unique? Then weaknesses. Where are the gaps? Maybe specific skills, maybe industry knowledge. And crucially, how can you compensate or improve? Then opportunities. Are there connections you could leverage, courses you could take, mentors who could help? And finally, threats. Who else is out there competing? What market shifts might affect you? Any personal limitations like location. It's a really thorough self-check, kind of the foundation for how you talk about yourself.
And building on that, there's another point that feels, well, potentially uncomfortable but important. Our sources say we need to look at the why behind leaving a job. Why is that specific reflection so critical for moving forward successfully?
Oh, it's absolutely vital because fundamentally it's how you avoid making the same mistakes again. You have to be really honest with yourself. Why were you unhappy? Was something actively wrong or was something important just missing? How did you actually feel about leaving? And then the killer question the sources pose is, what makes you believe the same problems would not exist in the next job? Digging into that helps make sure your next move is genuinely a step up, not just sideways into a similar issue with a different logo.
Right, avoid repeating patterns. Okay, so we've done the hard internal work. We know ourselves, our P's, our SWOT. Now, shifting gears to actually get started, a lot of people, myself included probably, would just hit LinkedIn, right? Start firing off applications. Is that really the best way to kick things off?
Well, that's a really interesting question because the guide hits us with some, frankly, startling statistics that challenge that exact approach. Here's a big one from the section on the starting place. Applications through the big job platforms, LinkedIn, Google, Monster. Indeed, they fill less than 15 to 20% of all advertised positions.
Wait, say that again? Less than 20%?
Yes, less than 1 in 5 advertised jobs. Let that sink in. And a big reason for this, according to the sources, is something they call the phantom job phenomenon. Basically, companies often post jobs they actually plan to fill internally. The guide suggests maybe 50% to 60% of all openings go to internal candidates. They might post externally just to meet regulations, or maybe just to look like they're casting a wide net. So the huge takeaway here is, do not restrict yourself to managing your job search solely online, as you are excluding yourself from the vast majority of positions available. Now, LinkedIn is still incredibly important for being found by recruiters. They are definitely searching there. But statistically, the odds of you finding your next job by directly applying through the platform are, well, lower than most people think.
Wow. Okay, that is a huge aha moment right there. That completely
Yeah.
changes how you think about spending your time. So if just clipping apply online isn't the main route, what should people be prioritizing? What's the strategic approach our sources outline?
It really boils down to proactive, dynamic planning. The guide details this in sections on rules of planning and how to plan. And here's a key idea. Focus on planning what you can control. That means your actions, your inputs, not just hoping for results. Identify milestones along the way, getting a screening interview, getting positive feedback, maybe even getting an offer, and actually celebrate those wins. A job search takes time. It's often a marathon. And the sources make a great point. You can actually build new skills or achievements during the search itself. This often means pushing yourself, getting out of your comfort zone. Real success usually requires real effort, trying new things, not just doing what's comfortable. And planning isn't a one-off thing you do at the start. The guide stresses it's a continuous, dynamic, flexible, and adaptable process. You have to keep reviewing, tweaking your strategy based on what you learn, what feedback you get. And because, let's face it, there's a lot of competition, the material really hammers home the need to develop a clear personal brand and a strategy for selling it from the beginning. Your brand needs to answer, why you? What makes you different? What value do you bring?
And it sounds like it's not just about the skills you have now, but showing you're willing to learn, even while you're searching.
That's exactly right. The sources really emphasize constantly developing new skills. Nick, look at platforms like Udemy, Coursera, Google Garage, maybe even short courses from universities. There are tons of ways to add certifications or deepen your expertise. Also, things like attending conferences, lectures, networking events. They're not just for schmoozing. They help you stay current, get market insights, and importantly, grow your active contacts. Actively growing your network really does increase your chances of finding those hidden jobs, the ones not advertised online. Building a supportive and effective network is huge. But there's a caution in the guide. Be careful whose advice you take. A lot of well-meaning advice can be out of date, based on someone's experience from years ago, not today's market, and something that just cannot be stressed enough. Perseverance is the most powerful avenue to success. You're going to face rejection. It's part of the process. Think of it like detective work. Every no just gets you closer to the right yes. The most successful people often treat it like an ongoing investigation, not just buying a lottery ticket and hoping.
And that perseverance, it needs fuel, right? It can be draining. Our sources also mention something often overlooked, self-care. Taking care of your mind, body, spirit, because it is a marathon, not a sprint. Burnout is real.
Absolutely. It means prioritizing sleep, eating well, getting some exercise, keeping up with hobbies and friends. Don't let the job search become your entire identity. You need to step away, recharge, then come back fresh.
Okay, now for maybe the nitty-gritty. This is where it gets really practical, how to prepare and the different ways of applying.
Hmm.
Our sources really stress doing deep research on the companies you're targeting. Not just a quick glance at their website, like know their products, services, who their main competitors are, what's been in the news about them lately. And here's a fascinating, slightly sneaky tip. Try to figure out who might interview you and do a little quiet research on them. And this is crucial, only check their LinkedIn profile once and definitely do not send a connection request beforehand.
Yeah, that LinkedIn tip is about maintaining professional boundaries while still being informed. Good one. And when it actually comes to hitting send on that application, the sources highlight a major advantage for direct applications. Coup. Meaning applying directly on the company's career site versus just using the easy apply button on LinkedIn or Indeed. Why? Well, it potentially saves the company headhunter fees. It lets you submit a truly tailored cover letter, and your application goes straight into their system, seen by their HR team directly. The advice is really clear. If you find positions on platforms like LinkedIn or Indeed, then check the company's own websites and apply through them instead.
That makes so much sense. Go to the source.
Exactly. It just gives you a better shot. And it allows you to really customize every application.
Huh.
And we don't just mean changing the company name in the cover letter. No, it means you need to dissect that job description. Pull out the keywords, the required experiences, the desired outcomes they mention. Then you meticulously weave those into your CV and cover letter. Show them, don't just tell them that you're the perfect match for this specific role in their company culture. That level of customization really makes an application stand out from the generic pile.
Okay, what about getting help from outside? Like recruitment companies and headhunters. I think a lot of people use these terms interchangeably, but our sources draw a sharp line, right?
They do, and it's an important distinction. The guide differentiates recruitment agencies. They typically handle roles up to maybe senior manager level. They tend to work with vacancies that are publicly known, often reacting to specific roles companies need filled. Then you have headhunters. They usually operate at the managerial to C-suite level, often working on confidential searches that aren't advertised at all. They're typically more proactive, often specialists in certain industries. But here's the absolute key insight for both. Please remember, however nice they are, they work for the company. Their client is the employer paying the fee, not you, the candidate. It's crucial to keep that in mind.
Right. They're not your agent, essentially.
Exactly. But they absolutely offer value. They give you access to that hidden job market. They can help tailor your CV, prep you for specific interviews, and even assist with negotiating salary. And here's a critical rule the guide lays out. If they bring you a position, then apply through them. Do not apply directly to the company. Going around them can seriously damage your application and the relationship with the company. So when working with them, be honest, be prepared for your conversations, always be professional, and don't be afraid to ask them questions to gauge if they're a good fit for you. Ask about their experience in your field, roles they've filled recently.
Good advice. And just quickly on job platforms, the sources double down on a point we already heard. Many job seekers only use LinkedIn. This is a terrible misstep to make. The advice is basically spread your bets, use several platforms, look at international ones if that's relevant, national ones, regional ones, and especially sector-specific job boards. Those can be gold mines for niche roles.
Precisely. Maximize your visibility. And one final, really crucial preparation tip for today's world. Evaluate all your social media profiles, not just LinkedIn. Recruiters do look. And increasingly, AI tools might scan for red flags or inconsistencies. The guide strongly suggests conduct a search for your name on Google. See what pops up. What does your digital footprint look like to a stranger? Because while LinkedIn is your professional front door, your other profiles, even a personal, are often visible and contribute to the overall picture of who you are. Companies want to see what you put out there publicly.
Wow, okay. So bringing this all together, what's the big picture for someone listening, thinking about their next career move? We've gone from that deep, maybe slightly uncomfortable self-reflection all the way to really strategic planning and smarter ways to apply. It's clear a job search isn't passive. It's very active, personal, requires effort on multiple fronts. Really knowing yourself, understanding how the market actually works behind the scenes, using all the tools, 10 Ps, direct applications, networking, it all seems essential.
Absolutely essential. And maybe the final thought to leave people with, building on everything we've discussed from the sources, is this. how might truly embracing the uncomfortable parts of a strategic job search, the discomfort of networking in new ways, of constantly learning, of challenging that easy online-only approach, how might that actually open doors to opportunities you might completely overlook otherwise, just because you dared to approach the whole thing differently?